The final of the 2023 Champions League was a culmination of all the hard work and… Okay, let's pause here for a second. We were about to say something really inspirational, but then we realized that it wouldn't really fit here. Because, let's be honest, Manchester City winning their first ever Champions League title is not inspiring stuff. It is a proof of a theory that money can buy you success if you persist long enough and don't start sacking managers every season. Just because PSG haven't been able to win the Champions League doesn't mean that the formula doesn't work. City invested heavily, brought the right manager, never thought about firing him, and now have a treble-winning squad to show for all this. The next edition of the UEFA Champions League is going to be amazing, and even though City have proven that they're the best team in Europe, Pep Guardiola will not have an easy journey as the citizens look to defend their European crown. With Arsenal returning to the competition after like an eternity, and Napoli still as intimidating as they were last season, the next edition of this competition promises to be an entertaining affair, with fireworks expected. So let's look at some of the teams that have a great chance of going all the way in 2024. Before we begin, smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you know exactly where to look to satisfy your football appetite. Manchester United. The main reason we put Manchester United on this list of potentially favourites to win the Champions League is not because they're an extremely good side. No, they're still unlikely to be dominating things in the coming months. However, all that might change if the Qataris replace Glazers as the club's new owners. The arrival of Sheikh Jassim would mean that Manchester United will be able to spend money on big-name players, which will only help Erik ten Hag expedite his mission to restore the club to its storied heights. United are definitely a few signings away from putting in a real fight to win major trophies. But as long as the Glazers are there, expect them to continue making announcements about how amazing their sponsor is when it comes to providing a great experience on a toilet seat. Arsenal. Let's be honest here, Arsenal were amazing to watch during the 2022-23, and had they been consistent in the business end of season, they would have saved football from Manchester City by winning the league title. This summer though, the Gunners have made some really good signings, which means that they will not be pushovers in the Champions League. Squad depth is important, and Mikel Arteta will have a bit of that during the 2023-24 campaign. We can definitely see the London Giants going past the group stages and even deeper in the tournament. But from then on, it will depend on a lot of things including luck. Can they win it this time around? No certainties, but one can dare to dream, right? Atletico Madrid. Diego Simeone has been at Atletico Madrid for as long as we can remember. The Argentine tactician has transformed them during his time there. League titles have been won, Real Madrid and Barcelona have been challenged, and a global brand has been built. What's missing now is European glory. They've lost one Champions League final and are still not close to winning the competition. Next year would be even more difficult, especially after the recruitment done by Madrid and Barcelona. Simeone's side haven't spent lavishly enough in the transfer market, which means that they'll have to be smart about things next season. But would that be enough for a European glory? Don't think so. Chelsea. Next up we have Chelsea. Todd Boehly has acted like a spoiled child with a lot of money since he bought the Blues from Roman Abramovich. That spending has seen the squad become as bloated as someone who has been chugging beer all night long. This summer they've started trimming their waist and will be making a few good moves. With Mauricio Pochettino at the helm, Stamford Bridge could move on from the dark days of Frank Lampard, where inconspicuous displays had been a recurring theme. But even that will not be enough for Chelsea to win the Champions League because, well, they're not even in the competition, but really wanted to rile up some of their supporters. Napoli. After being one of the standout teams in the 2022-23 campaign that saw them lift the Serie A Scudetto after 33 years, Napoli would be eager to build on that by aiming for European glory. Now, the Italians don't have a huge history in the competition in terms of winning it, but right now, they're one of the best teams in Europe. The departure of Luciano Spalletti does throw some spanner in the works, but Napoli are still the team to beat and the best team in Italy. Some of their star players, such as Gvica Kvaratskhelia and Victor Osimhen, have been linked with moves away from the club, but have been feeling that Napoli will end up holding on to their top performers. They've already completed the signings of Giacomo Raspadori and Giovanni Simeone, which means that the squad depth has also improved. But one thing that might impact things more would be the arrival of Rudi Garcia as their new manager. the French tactician hasn't had a lot of success in Europe in recent years, so it remains to be seen if he'll be able to pick up from where the Spalletti has left off. In all honesty, it would be a real shame to see Napoli struggle next season, and we hope that Garcia is able to help Napoli stay competitive. Newcastle United. The Magpies were quite an intimidating side to watch in the Premier League last time out. Eddie Howe's men finished fourth in the league standings, which means that they're set to return to the Champions League for the first time in years. The Magpies have invested shrewdly in recent transfer windows, even though they have the backing of the Saudi state. One standout signing is Sandro Tonali, who was signed for €64 million. The Italian is going to add more bite and creativity in midfield, something that would be needed a lot on European nights. Of course, this will be the first time for many Newcastle players in the Champions League, but we don't expect them to be overwhelmed by the occasion. Regardless of who they are drawn with in the group stages, the Tyne and Wear Giants will be very competitive. However, they still need to play more regularly in the competition before aiming to go all the way. PSG. The French Giants have been chasing Champions League glory for over a decade, but still no luck. And to be honest, it is all their fault. After years of relying heavily on big stars to get the job done, PSG are still further away from winning the Champions League. They've changed managers who have always struggled to deal with a dressing room full of massive ego. Off-the-field distractions mean that the team's unity is always in question. This time around, though, things do feel a little different. Louis Enrique has been brought in as a new manager, and the Spaniard has been backed by bringing in players who are meant to make a real difference. The likes of Manuel Ugarte, Milan Skriniar, and Lucas Hernandez are exemplary professionals, and their presence is likely going to keep the rest of the players on their toes. Marco Asensio's signing means that there's another attacking talent who would be glad to take a backstage and help the likes of Kylian Mbappe and young striker Hugo Ekitike do better. Maybe this year we'll see a much improved PSG in the Champions League. Bayern Munich. It was Hollywood FC for the most part of the 2022-23 campaign, because Bayern Munich simply couldn't stay away from drama. This is a team that is so used to winning the league that Bundesliga triumphs are taken for granted. After taking the battle to the last day of the season, the Bavarians managed to win the title. But it shouldn't be considered a huge success, since it was Borussia Dortmund who once again failed to get the job done. Thomas Tuchel was brought in almost halfway through the season, and the German tactician needed time to make something happen. This time, however, we expect Bayern to be in much better shape. They always tend to bounce back in Europe, so don't be surprised if they do something amazing. Real Madrid and Barcelona. The reason why we're putting these two together is because on the face of it, both teams are equally strong and capable of winning the Champions League. This summer, Madrid has signed Jude Bellingham for a lot of money, and the young Englishman is all set to make the starting spot his own for years. Similarly, the signing of young Turkish attacking midfielder Arda Güler is a great indication of the club's recruitment approach. With Modric and Kroos still at the top of their game, Vinicius getting better with each passing game, and Rodrigo coming into his own, Madrid should be aiming to win the Champions League again. Barcelona might not be a financial powerhouse at the moment, but that hasn't stopped them from being competitive. The Catalan Giants still have a lot of pull in the transfer market, which is why the likes of Ilkay Gundogan and Inigo Martinez joined as free agents despite having other offers. Xavi is building a team for the future, and while it will take some time for them to win the Champions League again, Barcelona are on the right track. Manchester City. Okay, so it is very rare for a team to win back-to-back Champions League titles, but then again, Manchester City are one of those sides that can achieve something similar. Pep Guardiola has been a transformative figure at the Etihad. No matter what you have to say about the club's ownership, you can't deny that they have spent their money pragmatically, while still backing their manager. This summer, they've sealed the signing of Mateo Kovacic, who effectively replaces Ilkay Gundogan. Erling Haaland is only going to get better, while defensive solidity is already there. To cut the long story short, Manchester City are still the team to beat in Europe, and it will take quite an effort to stop them from making more European history.